I had a young man who was flat out a gang member, like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Very respectful, but out in the neighborhood, he was pretty serious. And he approached me and said, Mr. Ray, I want to do one of those circle things. Me and this guy are beefing right now. Like our neighborhoods are beefing. We were shooting at each other 3 months ago.
Mm,
And he was locked up for the shooting. He's just getting out now. And when he sees me, he's gonna like
mm,
I want him to know that I'm not about that anymore. I'm trying to turn things around.
mm,
I want him to be safe coming to school. I want to be safe coming to school. So can we do one of those circle things
mm.
so that we can talk about this before anything happens?
Had to reapproach the meaning of this life I'm living. Had to reapproach my calling, had to fight for wisdom. Let me reapproach the mirror, need a better image. Let me reapproach the script to write a better ending. Yeah, I'm in a better mode. Climbing up the hill, I had to reapproach it. Yeah, I think I'm better for it. Had to realign so I can experience my growth. A second chance is all I need, I'm fighting aggressively. I can't let the pain get.
I'm really excited about this conversation that we're going to have this evening. I have someone with me who is just a powerhouse in the field, in the space. We met on the road for the IIRP, International Institute for Restorative Practices, probably at a Hilton or some kind of Marriott or something like that, as we were working with schools. I think the last time we were together we were in Miami, which was a nice spot. I'm looking to get back down there. Didn't get that call yet, but I'm excited to introduce to you all, to present to some, to introduce to others, none other than Miss Suzanne Butler. Welcome to Reapproach Perspectives tonight.
Thank you, Neil. I'm excited to be here with you. I actually have a fun story that I was thinking where we met. We actually met in the parking lot, and I don't know if you remember this, of Columbus, Ohio.
Ohio, okay,
And
there we
we were
go.
actually on a team, but there's just something I always remembered about you. We were out in the parking lot and you were giving away your water. And I thought, well, that's very nice of you because we were getting ready to return back to the hotel. And I was like, that's a very nice thing to do. So I appreciated your offer of kindness in that moment. And then I was like, I'm going to keep looking for him in the rotation. And then we actually landed
Yeah,
in Miami. And that was quite an adventure. And I was like, I
yes.
wanna be in that back suite where Neil is just to kinda lean in and learn from you, so I'm excited to be here tonight.
Yo, listen, Columbus, Ohio, and Miami are two very different places.
Yes, they are. That's very true.
You know what I mean? But a lot of great work happened in both of those locations, and I'm glad our paths crossed.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so in addition to your work with the IARP, you got some other things going on. You got some other things. What's happening in your world right now?
So right now, I am really excited about the work I'm working with a nonprofit called Changing Perspectives.
Mm,
They are an international nonprofit that works really with inclusion and social emotional learning. So I'm a program specialist with them, and I really integrate a lot of restorative practices. One of my favorite thing is really just site visits. I'm actually going out to Kansas City next week to support some teachers and also just coaching. I've been really enjoying, we were talking a little bit earlier about just getting an opportunity to support educators and helping them just understand that you can have support and accountability so they're not so burned out. So that's what I'm really excited about now. And then I have a real big passion for youth sports as well. I'm a parent of an athlete.
cool.
And so figuring out how to integrate, I'm always trying to figure out how to bring in restorative work. And I know we were talking about one of our shared friends who does a lot with sports and restorative practices. So that's probably my big two things that I'm always passionate about.
Yeah, no, that's what's up. So let's do this, right? Because some folks that are going to be tuned into this, they're going to hear restorative practices and they're going to know exactly what that is.
Mhm.
But then there are going to be some folks that they come across this like, what are they even talking about? Like, what is this about? How would you explain restorative practices to someone who's never heard it before?
We always get this I think we always get this question as practitioners. I think for me, the one word is just relationships, grounded in relationships, and really just how to build community. And that's the glue for all of it, right? Like whether you're talking about community in schools or on a sports team or your family, how do we have these healthy relationships with both? And for me, the other part of that is inner healthy relationship, having
Mm,
dignity and accountability. And so those are always the grounding sort of how we walk with each other in those relationships. But I've always heard like the 5R too. Have you heard the 5Rs of restorative practices?
Tell me more about the 5 R's.
Oh my gosh. So, well, relationships is the first. Respect and responsibility, and then also repair. So once we have relationships, we know conflict is going to be part of that. It's a natural part of having a healthy relationship. So being willing to do the work to repair the harm. And the last R is reintegration, which I know you're very passionate about in the work that you're doing. But that's kind of always the 5 R's is what we often talk about too, just to kind of for the lay people out there.
The 5 R's. Now that's what's up. That's what's up. Suzanne, so
Yes.
how did you even get into the work with
Mm.
restorative practices? Did it find you? Did you find it? Like what?
No, 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 it definitely found me. It's a very distinct moment. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic, so it was that March of 2020, like
Uh,
before like right around the shutdown.
okay.
I was returning to my work as an equity coordinator in a middle school, and one of my teammates actually led a virtual circle, and it was the first time where I just remember sitting there and going, "Oh wow, like this is what we need," right? I was
Mm,
a school counselor as well.
okay.
I was familiar with groups and social emotional learning and vulnerability and empathy and all of that. But there was something about my mentor at the time really just holding a space for us to just process what was going on at the beginning of the
Mhm,
pandemic as
okay.
professionals. And I'm a learner. So once like get curious about something, I just really leaned in and started learning about it. So that led me, I asked her afterwards, I was like, how do I learn more about circles
Mm,
or practices? And she said, well, I got a lot of my work through the IRP, which is the International Institute for Restorative Practices. So I was like, I'm taking classes. So it was like during the pandemic, I was like, I'm going back to graduate school and I'm not going to get my master's. I ended up getting the graduate certificate. And I was doing that during the pandemic while working and also parenting a 2 year old. I mean, a second grader at the time. And I just was like, what am I doing? But I really feel like those circles that I had during the IRP for that year really helped
uh-huh.
me just feel okay during all the
Mm,
chaos and all the craziness. And so after that, I remember feeling like, oh, I want to be part of this community. And I just kept showing up and I was like, any class, I'm going to like make sure the faculty members know who I am and like
yeah,
do all the networking. And so after that is when I decided that I just wanted to shift out of a lot of the work that I was doing and had the opportunity. One of the instructors actually said, well, if you want to be a trainer, we are always looking to build our team. So that's actually the story. It makes so much sense to me when I look in hindsight. I think that's probably similar to you.
uh-huh.
I was doing a lot of this work before I had like the formal training.
Right.
And what really has always spoken to me is just it's a system of care that can be intentional in schools.
Mm,
And a lot of schools, I mean, I think you know as well, is just designed to be punitive. And I just kept seeing a
yeah,
lot of injustice over and over and over again. And I just was like, there's has to be a different way of how we can build belonging in schools. And
yeah,
restorative practices is really that gift that I have the honor to be part of in the community to help. I would say I'm a disruptor
yeah.
in a good way.
I love how you described it as a system of care. I connect with that on a personal and professional level. So prior to becoming a trainer, I was a practitioner as I helped to lead alternative schools here in Delaware.
Mhm.
And I can remember having flat out, and this was actually my conversion story with restorative practice because I called kind of BS on it initially when I first heard. I was like, this ain't gonna work.
Right.
I don't know where this guy's coming from. Steve Core was actually my, trainer. I don't know if you know Steve, but Steve was our trainer at the time, and I just remember thinking, "Nice guy, this stuff sounds good, but I don't know that this is gonna work here. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's gonna work." And I was a counselor, clinician at the time at this alternative school, and after 1 marking period, because I gave it 1 marking period, and I was like, "We're gonna be going back to old punitive, knockdown, drag out." And I was pleasantly surprised at the power of restorative practices. And my conversion moment was I had a young man who was flat out a gang member, like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Very respectful, nice kid, never got into trouble in the school, but apparently out in the neighborhood he was pretty serious. And he approached me and said, Mr. Ray, I want to do one of those circle things.
Mm.
I'm like, "All right, what's going on?" And what ended up happening was there was another student who we had just because we had a rolling admission throughout the school year, And we had just done an intake for a new student that was coming out of a juvenile placement. And he said 3 months ago, well, what he said was me and this guy that was doing this intake are beefing right now. Like our neighborhoods are beefing and whatnot.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, how serious? What we talking about? We talking about fights? We talking about Instagram? We talking about
Yeah.
like what we making rap songs? Like what's going on? He said we were shooting at each other 3 months ago.
Mm.
And he was locked up for the shooting. He's just getting out now. And when he sees me, he's gonna like
Mm.
I want him to know that I'm not about that anymore. I'm trying to turn things around.
Mhm.
I want him to be safe coming to school. I want to be safe coming to school. So can we do one of those circle things
Mm.
so that we can talk about this before anything happens? And in that moment, I realized that this young man, 14 years old, active gang member to the point of shooting real guns with real bullets, believes enough in a proactive circle and to a degree was proactive but also
Was.
responsive,
Yep.
right? But it was proactive, like, hey, before,
Mm.
like, if he believes enough in this tool to do something that serious, because we have been running circles for like a kid cussed out a teacher,
Mhm.
two kids get into an argument, maybe a fight at the school, two staff members, somebody ate somebody's sandwich out of the staff lounge, whatever.
Mhm.
We're doing stuff like that, repairing harm,
Right.
but never to this degree. For him to number one, believe in it, two, participate in it, and then three, for them to be able to come to a resolution
Mhm.
where they had safe passage back and forth to the school. I was sold. I mean, at that point, it was beyond sold. I was like a full-fledged believer.
Mm.
At that point, I then I moved into school administration in that same school,
Mm.
and they asked me to be the director of restorative practices, and then that's why I'm like, all right, I need more training.
Mm.
But I'm like, yo, that was like, come on.
Mhm.
That was a life and death situation that we were able to resolve through a circle.
I believe it. I believe it.
So,
Power
yeah,
it's powerful to hold spaces. I think, I mean, it sounds like that young man knew what it felt like and believed in the power, and I applaud you for listening and learning and offering that for him because that's not as leadership, I think we'll talk about that more. It takes a risk, you know? It's like, "Well, I'm gonna try this, but like you said, I don't even know if this is gonna work."
yeah,
But
yeah.
I hope you're still in touch with him. He'd be a great circle keeper.
Yeah, yeah. How about that? How about that? It taught me a couple of things, but one of the biggest lessons was that our young people and just people in general, we lack tools.
Mm,
We don't always want to live in conflict, but we don't always have the tools
right.
to like. And so, when given the tools, when given the space, when keeping the space, when given this system of care, as you put it, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So yeah, so that was my conversion story with RP and circles, and I was just like, all right, this is the real deal here.
Mm,
And as you mentioned with the pandemic, it was like we started doing circles in our home. We started doing
yeah.
Sunday circles because now everybody's home. My wife already worked from home, but now I'm home, my daughter's home. We trying to figure out and navigate the space. And
Mhm.
we bumping into each other emotionally, we bumping into each other physically, we getting on each other's nerves. And it was like, all right, circle up. Like, what do we need? Every week, every Sunday, we had circle, and it was looking at the needs of the week
Mhm.
and how do we navigate this space together as the world was kind of unfolding this whatever was happening. We
Absolutely.
no one knew what was going on. And my daughter was 5 at the time, and she was participating in circles. She sat telling me stuff like, I want to spend more time with daddy.
Mhm.
And I'm like, we spending all this time together. We in the house together. Like, what do you mean spend more time? And what she really started articulating was quality time.
Mhm.
Like, not on your phone, not scrolling, but like really dedicated time where it's just us. And I'm like, wow, at 5 years old, effective language and circles and stuff like that. And so,
We'll have to
yeah,
talk about your favorite family circle topics because we do circles at my family as well.
yeah, yeah. Right, I'll give you mine right now off the bat. We
Okay,
call
what are
them
your
we call
top
them we call them gratefuls. Top circle right now, we call them gratefuls, or it's
grateful?
basically gratitude circle. You know what I mean? So it's Autumn, our 11-year-old, and we got Tanasia, she's 7, and then my wife and I, and then Oreo, the dog, will jump in from time to time. But it's just 3 things you're grateful for right now, and we do them every night, and, if we miss a night or whatever, we'll do them in the morning. Coming in a close second is what we call our morning show, and it's basically a morning circle, a check-in circle while we're driving to school. I'm taking the kids in, we call my wife, this one is over the phone, and it's like somebody hosts a morning show. Welcome to the morning show. How are you feeling right now? What's one thing you're looking forward to today? It's just one of those check-in circles. So, but the gratefuls, the gratitude circle, that is kind of our flagship circle right now.
Yeah, we have, well, we've actually had a couple of reiterations. One that's always fun. So I'm all boys except for me. So I always put that out there.
Okay, I'm flipped around. Okay.
We gotta keep things a little bit with some humor. One is definitely high low buffalo. And so that's like your high of your day, your low of your day, and then your buffalo is just like your random thing that was totally unexpected. You didn't even know what it was.
High, low, buffalo.
High-low buffalo is one that's been
Okay.
we've had in the mix. We actually just reorganized a few things. So I have a teenager, and so we had to kind of like level up our content a little bit more.
Okay.
And so I really believe in values and really anchoring circles with values, whatever they may be. And so we've
Okay.
redefined our personal values. So I had all these little value cards, and we
Ooh.
each picked like things that were really important to us, and then like what are important to our family. And so
Mhm.
that was our core value structure. And so now when we have like stuff that comes up or conflict or whatever, we just are like, okay, what are the values that we want to be mindful of today in the circle? So that's kind of how we balance it. And the music is always really big. And so my husband actually has a playlist for when we start the circle. It has
Let's
like
go.
our family time.
Now, did you have to get them to buy in, or is
Oh
this
my
all they
gosh,
know?
yes. Are you kidding?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that you have to like with everything, right? With this school, you have to have proactive ways to connect and have fun.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was just similar, just light, fun things. What was a joy, bringing out the positive affect. But it's really actually helped us really process a lot of stuff, like we've gone through a lot as a family with just different things. And I'm always so grateful to be like, we've had so many times when we come together at the table and we're talking about like
Mhm.
grateful things or buffalo things or whatever. But so when we have
Yeah.
to balance with, a heavier topic, we can know that that space is safe and I have some very talkative family members, so having a talking piece is really important, and each of them know that you're gonna have your turn to share,
Yeah.
and if that happens for me, like, kind of like you were talking about your conversion moment, I remember, using affective statements for one of my assignments with my second grader son at the time during the
Mhm.
pandemic, and it just, like, changed our dynamic completely, just those simple sentences, and I was like, "If this helps me be a better human to my, pride and joy, like, of course it can help thousands of people," and really figuring out how to bring it to others. So
Yeah.
a lot of the work that I always do is I know, I love going to site visits and coaching educators, but just the personal work is what really stays with me too, as a
Yeah.
mom and as a wife.
Yeah, I love that. It's such an adaptable model and
Mm,
framework because it's essentially about interacting with people.
absolutely.
So wherever people are, this can work. If people are like, hey, will this work in the office? Yes. Like my
Yeah.
wife worked in corporate America and healthcare management, and I did a lunch and learn with them, leading with ease. And, I coupled it with a book through John Maxwell, 360-degree leader. And so I just took it and just kind of remixed that a little bit and started talking about adding value, on every level and whatnot. But we were just talking about wherever people are,
Yep.
this stuff can work. You know what I mean? Wherever there are people problems, as I like to say, it's gonna help you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And people, I don't know if you noticed, but people aren't peopling like they once have.
I've noticed a few things, yes. And I always say, like same kind of thing, like what is restorative? Where can it happen? I'm like, anytime there's community, anytime there's relationships,
Yeah.
anywhere, right? So whether that's, in corporate America, whether that's your neighborhood community, whether that's
Mhm.
your church, whether that's your sports team, whether that's your family, like anytime and obviously I would say we really need to have a better sense of coming together
Yeah.
and a better sense of holding space with both respect and a sense of curiosity.
Mhm. Mhm. For sure. No, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. So definitely going to talk more about the restorative family and reapproach family stuff. 'Cause whenever I hear folks are incorporating this, and I'm going to go ahead and borrow the Hollow Buffalo
Let me know how it goes.
like that. I will be introducing that as soon as we are back together. My kids are away at their grandparents right now,
Oh,
enjoying part of their spring break, and so So yeah, but when we get back together, High Low Buffalo will be on the docket.
Yeah, it's always fun because it really that's the one where it's like, "Wait, what is something random that totally didn't" like, I wasn't expecting it. Those are the ones that are, like, really fun to kind of like, "Oh, well, I didn't expect this to happen, but it totally did today."
Yeah, yeah. No, that's what's up. That's what's up. So I want to shift gears a little bit, but
Yeah.
still kind of stay in this space and move into this area called the reapproach recipe.
Mhm,
Right? And so the reapproach recipe essentially is made up of 7 primary ingredients. And it's really about anchoring in this width window, high expectations, high support,
mhm,
that kind of thing. So the reapproach recipe though starts with expectations and then you move to accountability and support. So I like to say, interact or live with ease, EAS.
okay,
And then the next 3 ingredients are the 3 C's: connection, communication, commitment.
mhm,
And then the final ingredient is to live with love.
mhm,
And that sits at the center of the recipe as to how we do all of those other 6 things and whatnot. So one of the things that we approach, as part of our approach, if you will, as a people, leaders, and systems.
mm.
So I'll let you take these ingredients and apply it whichever. If you want to go schools, if you want to think about parenting, if you want to think about leadership. And I'm just curious, which ingredient stands out to you the most of the 7 ingredients of that recipe? Is there one that stands out to you the most?
I was reflecting on this, connection was the one that was really coming up for me, because I feel like with all things, you really need that connection. In order to communicate, right? That builds
Yeah,
connection. Even the expectations, I think of schools a lot, often really, okay, these are the expectations for this assignment, or these are the expectations for the behavior. But if there isn't a connection between the teacher and the student, those expectations aren't going to really be authentic or withheld. So that to me really was one of the glue recipes or the key ingredients in the reapproach.
yeah, yeah. Thanks for so for you, what are which one comes easiest for you and which one is more challenging, right? So like I know for me, support, I'm support all day. Like
Yeah,
like I said, I'm a recovering 4 out of that 4 box.
same,
So talk to me. What's the easier one, the
same.
one that comes natural, and then where does it take a little more work for you?
Yeah, no, I think I love what you said you're recovering for. I am too. So I'm a school counselor by trade as well. So doing things for people, really leaning in with care is just very natural. I feel like take a great sense of helping and being supportive. But I also can realize like that the hard part of that is expectations for me. Or not expectations, accountability, like how to
Okay.
hold people accountable. And really, I think as I've leaned into this seasoned part of my career, really understanding like that's really important. Just figuring out how to not be harmful about accountability, just done with care and concern. Like, hey, this is what's happened and I care about you and I want you to be able to understand, whatever XYZ needs to
Yeah.
happen in the relationship. So I think easy for sure, support,
Uh-huh.
challenge, accountability. But actually I'm really grateful for the framework because I'm always really thoughtful now about okay, what's the expectation that I need to communicate? Because that's
Yeah.
how you hold people accountable. So I love how you actually have them kind of
It
together.
saved my it saved my life, saved
Yeah,
my butt so many times
yeah.
as a leader. And I literally, I was be sitting in my office as the principal of the largest alternative school in Delaware. And I'm going, okay, you've been talking this, restore, like, how does this
Yeah.
really look? Because you keep showing up in this 4. And so I literally went through all of the expectations. What are the expectations of the building?
Mhm,
What are the expectations of your staff? What are the expectations of your students?
mhm.
Are they clear? Have you communicated them? Because one of the things I found is that I had expectations that lived here
Yeah.
that never actually made it out of my mouth to the ears of the people that needed to hear it. So I had assumptions. I didn't have expectations.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, you just assume that they should know this because you've been working in schools for X amount of years, or you are a professional, or you are an adult, so you should know this. And I'm like, when you are leading folks from different generations and whatnot, certain things, that were just kind of baked into our values and in our home training, if you will, or upbringing, they might not exist. And that doesn't mean that our way was better or not, but folks just didn't have certain things. So being very explicit. And then another thing about expectations, and I've learned this in the school setting, but also at home, is making sure that they are not just clear, but appropriate.
Mm.
right? So a high expectation for my 11-year-old is different than my high expectation for my 7-year-old.
Mhm.
They both can have high expectations, but they're gonna look different.
Mhm.
High expectations for one of my teachers who has 20 plus years experience and is a certified teacher look different than someone who just made a career change from the business world and is now teaching math. And because there's a teacher shortage,
Mm,
they got brought into an emergency cert and they don't even know how to really do a lesson plan.
mhm.
So my lesson plan expectations are different for both of those. And then the support is going to look different as well.
Right.
And so I was like really just doing a deep dive on each one of these ingredients. But that expectation one for me, it was the area that I really had to tighten up. You
Yeah,
know
and
what I mean?
I think for me, it's always when I find myself in the 4 box, I'm like, "Okay, I know what's the accountability and what's that specific expectation that I need to communicate with care." Like, it's a way for me to kind of, I don't know, in my brain go through the way to meet that need because if not, it's just like, "Oh, I'm in the 4 box. I know I need to move up, but where do I
Um,
start?" So I love that you
mm,
sort of named it with start with your expectations, whatever that may be, right? Like expectations
yeah,
in the classroom, and then that's all tied into to me the relationship, like you were just talking about, like your relationship with your kids and where they are, or the relationship with the teacher. It has to be tailored to who they are as well for it to be
yeah,
authentic.
yeah,
'Cause it's
yeah.
not a one size fits all, and I think that's where a lot of frustration I don't know, maybe it's not frustration, maybe it's, hesitancy about, "Well,
Mm,
how do I implement this?" You know, like, "Give me the manual to be a restorative XYZ," and it's like, it's not as easy as that, you know? Like, you have to know your people, they have to know you, then you have to kind of match the expectations of the community.
yeah, yeah. And it takes time.
Absolutely.
Like, this is culture work. Like, a lot of times people, especially, today we have been kind of programmed to expect immediate results for everything. And so it's like,
Mm.
I used an effective statement and it didn't work. I used one on my
Mhm.
students. I used one on my kids and it didn't work. And I'm like, first of all, let's stop using them on people, right? Because that language alone is like suggests, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Absolutely.
I used that on my son and he just looked at me and well, it didn't work.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, they always work. As long as they have the feeling, the behavior, the impact, they're working.
Mhm.
Right now, it's not a magic like spell that you put on that you say this and everybody's going to start
Right.
doing what you say, or the culture in your classroom is going to start to change. Like, it's like planting a seed and then coming back tomorrow and going, well, it didn't sprout. Those seeds were terrible. They don't work.
Mhm.
It's like, no, let's water, let's nurture, let's water, let's nurture, let's do all the things, so that's where that commitment, that third C of commitment,
Mhm.
small changes over time, small commitments over time.
Mhm.
And then you look up and you're like, whoa,
Mhm.
we've kind of turned the ship here. So,
It
no,
reminds me yeah, it reminds me a lot of when I always give that metaphor in the training too, because they're often with teachers and I'll say like, "Well, how long did it take someone to learn how to read?" Or how long did it take to someone to tie their shoe? Or how long did it take for them to learn how to do a science experiment or whatever? And
yeah,
it's like, "Oh, yeah." So it's I'm like, behavior's the same thing, you know? We can't have this expectation that we're gonna use this affective statement once, and then all of a sudden this behavior and this relationship is totally gonna be transformed.
uh-huh,
You have to like you said, you have to keep showing up with consistency, and it takes time for them, for the other person, but also for me, I love the affective statements as a 4 in recovery because it sets the boundary.
mm,
'Cause it says, like, "I feel, proud when," I'm trying to think of something. Oh, when worked hard on your project, So that's
mm,
working hard on your project, that's the expectation, and it's already sort of communicated in that way. Because that's, like, as a recovering for, what I need is specific ways, right,
yeah,
to set those accountability with support.
yeah. No, that's what's up. I can talk this stuff all day. Um,
Me too.
this is just like I just nerd out on it, and because it's just so rich, and you can apply it so many areas. And when you
Yeah,
have embraced it in the way that you have, and that I've learned to do, you see it show. You can't unsee it. Like
right.
I'm like in the grocery store, like wow, that was I'm using effective language in there, or I'm like, man, that supervisor was really in the two there. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
you can't unsee it once you put the RP lenses on. It's like. for better, or worse, but mostly better.
Yeah, I remember very early on when I was meeting someone who was further along in their journey of restorative practices, and I was, I don't know, an infant in my learning. And she said it really is a way of life. Like when you're going through, some of these classes and I'm learning and I'm taking notes and I'm doing these projects, it was like, okay, like now I feel like like you're saying, like it just becomes who we are. And it really is a way that guides. I know for me, I'm sure for you. And I would offer a gentle challenge. To me, it's a mindset. One of my mentor, she said, "Glasses you can take on and off," when we were talking about
Okay.
equity, and DEI and belonging. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
need people to have a mindset.
Let's go.
I need
Okay.
people to have it soak in and be
Yes.
who they are, because you can take your glasses off and go back
Mhm.
into, the communities that are not restorative. And so it really soaking in the minds and moving through the work.
Yeah. Challenge accepted. Glasses off. It's funny because I say something similar, a gentle challenge to. I'm like, I don't ask people to buy into
Mhm.
restorative practices because you could buy and sell. That's transactional, and
Right.
but when you embrace restorative practices, it becomes a part of who you are.
Absolutely.
And so, in that same spirit, I'm no longer put taking on and off the lenses, but we will,
Sure.
go with the mindset shift. I love that. Thank you, mentor,
Yeah.
for sharing that. That's what's up. That's what's up. So what's up? How can people get in touch with you? What's the work? I know you mentioned earlier, so just kind of restate how people can connect with you. What's some of the work that's going on with you that folks should know about?
I think for me, just LinkedIn. I'm Suzanne Ashley Butler on LinkedIn. And that's how a lot of
Okay.
my actually connections. That's how you and I reconnected, I guess. And then SB Cares is like my own little, I guess, education consultant, but it really is
Yeah.
what I use to partner with different corporations. I always like to shout out Changing Perspectives, which is a nonprofit doing great stuff all around the US and now globally, just doing inclusion work. And so check them out as well.
Okay.
But yeah, like, I'm just excited to be in community with you and anybody who's
Oh
restorative
man.
practices. I'm here for all the work.
Yeah. Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. Now, and who should be reaching out to you? Like who are the who
Mm.
you know who are the folks that should be connecting with you or that would find this work helpful?
Yeah, I mean, most of my work is with schools all over the US right now. So anybody
Uh,
who really is looking at bringing more belonging into their spaces. As a school counselor, I'm really passionate about proactive ways. So like the social emotional learning skills of listening, conflict resolution. Those are all specific things that kids can learn and should learn before
Okay.
they're in need of conflict resolution. So that's really what I am really passionate about. And so anybody who wants to sort of look at SEL programming in their schools, how they want to actually, take a restorative approach, that's really I love being sort of a systems disruptor and kind
Yeah.
of dismantling some of the systems that are in schools to really, like you say, reapproach or reconfigure them to be spaces where kids are seen and valued and really from all different backgrounds, but certainly making sure they have spaces where they can show up and be their true themselves and have fun, but then also learn a few things.
Yeah. Oh, that's what's up. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Listen,
you, Neil.
everybody, Suzanne Butler. I'm Neil, the Reapproach Coach, reminding you to live and lead with ease and the three C's. And please, 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 please don't forget the love.
Mm.
We'll see y'all next time.
Yay!